All right, so our song this time is Playing with the Boys by Kenny Loggins. And we are going to, if you have a graphing calculator, hopefully you have a TI-83 because that is what we use here at Park. So I'm going to walk you through the steps to get the regression line with a TI-83. If you have a different type of calculator, you may want to grab your manual or bring it into class. I might be able to help you with that, but I can't make any promises. So on the next slide here, I have all of the steps laid out for you. And if you do not have a graphing calculator, we do have some in the classroom that you can borrow to work with. So the first thing that you want to do is hit the stat button. The stat button is located right here. So you just hit stat, no second or shift. And then on the screen across the top, there will be three options: edit, calc, and then I'm not sure what the third option is, I can't remember. But under the edit, you'll have this already highlighted. You'll have edit highlighted. So just go ahead and hit enter, and you're going to see a screen with a bunch of lists. So the first slot under L1 should be highlighted, and this is where you type in all of your X values. And then the second slot is L2, and that's where your Y values are going to go. So remember, our X values were the minimum temperatures for Albany, and our Y values were the minimum temperatures for Sydney. So make sure that you get them so that they line up. The first X value, or the January minimum temperature for Albany, is the first one in list 1, and the minimum temperature for January for Sydney is the first one in list 2. So it looks like a set of ordered pairs as you go down the list. So go ahead and pause the video and get that typed in if you have a graphing calculator. All right, so the next piece, once you have those two lists, you're going to hit stat again. And it doesn't matter, you don't have to hit quit from that screen. You can just go ahead and hit stat, and you'll go back to the screen where you'll see edit, calc, and then a third option across the top. And if you scroll over to calc, option 4 is a linear regression line, and you don't have to scroll down to 4. You can just hit the number 4, and it will immediately jump to your regular screen, and it'll say linear regression across the top, and you want to go ahead and hit enter. And it will for sure give you your A value and your B value. If that is all you see, if this right here is all that you see on your screen, we're going to need to do one more step. If you have an R squared and an R value, you have your correlation coefficient, and you don't have to do this next step. So if you need to see your R value, our last step here is you will hit the second button, which is up here in the left-hand corner, and then the 0. And what's highlighted above the 0 is the word catalog. So we're hitting second catalog. And then it's already got the alpha blinking, so you want to hit the letter D, which is right here on your graphing calculator. And then you'll see a list with D words, and you want to scroll down to where it says diagnostic on. Once you have diagnostic on highlighted, or there's a little arrow pointing to it, you want to hit enter, and you'll get back to your regular screen. It'll say diagnostic on across the top, and you want to hit enter again, and then it will have turned the diagnostic on. So make sure you hit enter twice. It won't automatically give you your R values, it's just the diagnostic is on. So if you didn't have your R values, then you will have to go back up to this step, stat, calculate linear regression, and then we'll see our R values. All right, so here's what this information means. What this means is this A value, of course, is our slope, and the B value is our y-intercept. So the equation of the line of the linear regression, the regression line, the line of best fit, would be negative, and I like to round to 3 decimal places, that's what I've got here. So make sure you do that as well. I'm going to use my arrow here. 0.84. Okay, so that's the equation of our line. I'm going to jump back to the previous page, and we're going to answer a few more questions about this data set. All right, so we're going to get that equation for our regression line again. I'm going to jot that down here. It's negative 0.464x plus 80.084. And the correlation coefficient is going to come in when we answer how confident are we in our prediction. So let's find our prediction first, and actually I'm going to write my R value here. So I'm going to need my calculator for something else. So this is our R value. The R squared value we don't need to worry about, so you don't have to jot that down. We're just worried about the R value. All right, so to use our equation to predict, remember Albany was our independent variable. We put it on our x-axis, so we're going to take this value and substitute it in for x to solve for our y value. Then we just punch this into our calculator to get our answer. And I would probably round to the nearest degree because that's what the data set gave me. I keep 3 decimal places in the problem to get a more accurate answer. So I'm actually going to go ahead and use my approximately equal to signs, and this rounds to 68 degrees. How confident are we in our answer? Let's take a look at that correlation coefficient. It is extremely close to -1, which means the data is almost perfectly linear, which means I'm pretty confident this would be about accurate. The temperatures seem to have a pretty strong correlation to one another. All right, I know I'm over on time, but there's one more question that I want to make sure that we go over. Not sure why I didn't have it on here. I want us to interpret our slope and our y-intercept in terms of, sorry, I can't talk right at the same time. Interpret slope and y-intercept in terms of the context of the problem. Remember, slope is change in y over change in x. Our y value represented the temperature in Sydney, so it was change in Sydney over, and our x value was the temperature in Albany. So this would be our, the change in temperature, how they related to one another, the change in temperature between the two cities. And then the y-intercept, remember our x value is 0 and our y value is Sydney. So what that means is when the temperature was 0 in Albany, it would be about 80 degrees in Sydney. All right, and finally our U-try. So go ahead and pause the video here and get that down. Remember, if you don't have access to a graphing calculator, you won't be able to do this. Get the information down, get the table down, and you can borrow a graphing calculator when you get to class.